Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
We're back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with an luminary of martial arts here in Texas, Maestro Manuel Lozano. How are we doing today?
We're doing pretty good, Professor. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for the invitation.
No, thank you for doing the work that you've done, okay? Because not many people do what you've done. And I'm going to talk to those out there that are viewing it is, after spending, Maestro Lozano, after spending time in the Korean arts, Filipino arts, he studied a lot of indigenous fighting styles left in Mexico. I've classified every one of them. And we're going to hear the story. How did you start, let's say, the martial arts, and how did you progress to what you've done now?
Well, we started training, my brother and I, in our teenage years. You know, we bought boxing gloves, we boxed, we'd wrestle, we cut oleander branches and use them as swords, you know, which they hurt very much. They're like really like whips. So we had that in us already, you know. And then I met some friends that were younger than me that were training in Taekwondo, and I saw them kick, and I said, oh my God, this guy's 14 years old, and look at him, man. I said, I gotta learn this. So he started teaching me. I was about 15 or 16. He was 13 or 14. So we started in Taekwondo. And a couple of years later, I saw a demonstration there in your hometown of Laredo in Johnny Rendon's tournament with Master Hyun Kim. He was a Hapkido master. So I approached them. We talked, invited me to his seminars, to a trip to Korea that was going to be in '77. But it kept being postponed till '81. So meanwhile, I would go to Baton Rouge and train with him in what he called Kuksul Hapkido, because Kuksul Wan had just arrived to the United States through New Orleans by the Grandmaster's first American student, Ken Duncan, was from New Orleans. So the seminars were in Baton Rouge. So Master Kim, who was the president of the American Hapkido Association, was going to help the Grandmaster propagate the art. So he convinced him to go open up in San Francisco, which was pretty much the hotbed of all the martial arts, as your own art of Kempo, you know, and mainly all the big shots of the martial arts at the time were located in San Francisco. So he moved his headquarters to San Francisco. So he called it Kuksul Hapkido to attract the Hapkido students. Okay, so in 1981, we traveled to Korea for the first World Kuksul Wan Championships and Masters demonstration. And that's when I started realizing what the Grandmaster had done to put Kuksul Wan together. So I said, well, why can't I do that sometime, you know? So that's how it happened. And then I met Remy Presas in February of 1984 in San Francisco at one of the National Kuksul Wan Championships. And he approached me, actually. So he asked me where I was from. I told him I was from Texas. He says, I've never been to Texas. You're going to invite me? I said, yeah, you're going to come? Yeah. So he came in May of '84. He said, look, before we go even any further,
Sure.
If I would really tell you what happened with Remy Presas and Ernesto Presas, I would get all the Arnis community jumping on me. Okay, that's why I never told a lot of what really happened, because I'd be fighting with everybody every day, and I don't want to do that. You know, the truth is the truth, and that's all there is to it. You know, I planned on writing a book of all these things, but it'll probably be best, you know. But now that we're talking about it, I said, well, you know, let's let the cat out of the bag a little bit, you know. And Remy had done the same thing with Arnis. You know, he trained with his father and grandfather. Then he trained with the founder of Balintawak. I think his last name was Bacon. I forgot his first name. And what he did was travel around the islands and get the best of the best. And that's why he called it modern arnis. I said, why modern? He goes, because the ancient way you would hit the hands and the arms. And nobody wants to get hit. They considered the stick sacred. They go, the hell with the stick. My arm is more sacred than the stick. So he started doing the techniques, you know, stick against stick instead of most of the strikes to the hand or the forearm. And that's why he called it modern. Also because he translated the stick motions into the empty hand. So that's why he called it the art within the art. You know, if you don't have the stick, you can still defend yourself with your hands with the same motions, which you find, Paul, by the way, in the art of the Spanish saber. The same thing. They have a numbering system. You got your parries, your counters, you know, all the techniques. There are really no disarms in Spanish saber, just for a couple of them, because and also there's a Spanish stick fencing, okay, el palo bastón, and it's pretty much arnis, you know. It's the same system, you know, the same as numbering systems. There's blocks, there's counters, and so on, but no disarms. Why? Because the stick is a little bit too long, 41 inches long. If you insert your left hand, you're gonna get popped. Now in arnis, they have smaller size sticks, so you can insert your left hand and which they call the live hand. You know, you can grab
Right.
it, I mean, joint locks and all that kind of stuff. But back to the Mexican martial art. That gave me the idea of putting this together, but I wasn't prepared. I knew I wasn't prepared. I needed more, you know. So after Remy Presas, meeting Remy and becoming friends with him. Oh, and by the way, I said I was gonna let the cat out of the bag. Well, a little bit. When he came down in May of '84, we were after the seminar was over on a Saturday afternoon. There was one of the students left, myself and Remy tells me, show me your Kuk Sowan techniques. So I did a bunch of stuff for him, and he was looking at all the locks and throws. I didn't see Remy till about maybe 6 months later or a year later. I don't remember. It's been a long time. And guess what? He incorporated a lot of those techniques into his art, into his movements, into his disarming and all that, you know. So anyway, I said, fine, no problem. You know, that looks like my stuff, but it's okay. You know, I mean, he knows how to put it together. He had what you call the flow. The man was gifted. You know, I miss Remy. You know, I love Remy, and we all do. But that is the truth. So later on, a couple of years later, a year later, in fact, my brother Joy went to another National Kuk Sowan Championship in San Francisco, which, by the way, he won, and when he was invited to go to Korea. Wally J gave a demonstration of small circle jiu-jitsu. And since Joy was a very colorful and dynamic fighter, Wally approached him and asked him, hey, I want to teach you my art. And my brother tells him, well, I would love to learn, but right now I'm not into that. I'm into tournament fighting. I want to go win the championship in Korea. But I have a brother that would love to learn from you, and he talks a lot about you. Well, give me his number. And guess what happens? I get a call from Wally J. So I invite Wally to come down. And he comes down to Brownsville. Well, my wife and I pick him up at the airport in Harlingen. We take him out to eat, and he spends the weekend with us. And there's witnesses, man. There's some black belts from San Antonio that came down. And we partied, and when we rented a big limo, instead of us driving Wally around, Wally drove us around, you know, at the island in Brownsville and Callan, going everywhere. I mean, we had a great time with him. So the small circle theory of Wally J made my Kuk Sowan techniques even stronger and better.
Absolutely.
Because of the small circle theory.
Absolutely.
So during that time, Paul, I was asked to open up, well, back in '82, the Grandmaster of Kuk Sowan asked me for a big favor to sponsor one of his masters to come to the United States. So back then, it was the Department of Justice. So I had to make an application and bring this man in and all this paperwork and all this stuff. And that master that I had invited for him was Master Jung Oli, may God rest his soul. He was a technical director of the association. He's the one who taught all the masters, okay? And he loved me to death because what I was doing for him. So he lived here with me in Brownsville for 3 years. But his techniques were different than the Grandmasters. The Grandmaster was more like flashy stuff, and Django Lee was down to the point. But he asked me not to reveal what he was teaching me because the Grandmaster would get mad at him. And he didn't want to cause any waves in the art. So I think that was very special. You know, then I moved to San Antonio with, Django Lee's supposed to go with me to San Antonio. And then at the last moment, the Grandmaster pulled him out and said, no, go to Austin, open a school there with one of my students that lived over there. So the Grandmaster didn't like the idea of me training with Remy Presos and Wally J. So I sponsored a big demonstration and fights and all that in Austin, bring them all together. Everybody in Austin, and if they're listening, they can tell you it's the truth. You may get a little bit of, you know, arguments, but I was there. Nobody would talk to each other. Everybody was at their throats. You remember the old days? I brought them all together. I went to visit them all. I made friends with all of them. I invited them. I said, listen, come demonstrate your art, bring your best fighters, you know, and let's do this and let's do that. And they all helped and participated. And the Grandmaster in Hyuk Soo, the founder, my master in Kuk Soo, well, he got to meet Remy Presos and Wally J. Because he talked bad about them before they arrived. But once they arrived, it was a different story. So, you know, I became very close with Remy because he was very honest, very loving, very caring. I mean, he just, you know, I felt closer to him than I did to the Grandmaster. And at that point, that's when I decided to quit Kuk Soo because the Grandmaster pretty much was handing out black belts to whoever paid him the money. It was taking a nosedive. And I knew that its time was limited. It wasn't going to grow anymore. It had reached its peak. It was in all the magazines, if you recall. I mean, Jane Hallander was putting out articles on Kuk Soo left and right. You know, why? Because she was being paid to, that's why. So anyway, I decided to close the school in Austin. And I was there a year from the summer of 85 through 86. I decided to come back. And I said, I'm going to dedicate myself to more of this research. So, you know, but every year I would travel to Mexico. My brother and I would travel to Mexico, go to different places. I was lucky enough, as destiny would have it, to meet a professor of anthropology from the University UNAM from Mexico City, right? But he lived in a little town south of Toluca. He was also the director of Department of Tourism at the University of Toluca, and he sent me to different places to go research the art. So, because what he would do, he would send his students to different parts of Mexico to do their theses on different, one of the 67 different Indian ethnic groups, you know, for their theses, and to ask if there was any martial art available or any kind of martial art knowledge. And when he would get something back, he'd call me, hey, Vente, come here, I got something for you. You know, in a lot of places I was just, they slammed the door on me. And 2 or 3 places were kind, you know. So that's how it started. So I started traveling to Mexico, researching the best I could. Met a lot of people along the way. A lot of the masters in Mexico were good to me, but they weren't interested in it. And they told me, look, if you want to do all that, that's fine. And when you find something, bring it back, you know, and let's take a look at it. But it would take someone like you to get it done, to get the Mexicans in Mexico to be interested in it. Because if it's one of us, we're not going to take him serious. It's got to be an outsider, and you're an outsider. So good luck, you know.
I'm glad that you said that because, you know, very much so here in Texas, we have a knife fighting culture, you know.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Of course, we have, even the boy was from Louisiana, Arkansas base area. We use a large knife, a larga, which people say, no, that's fino. Here they have larga, el cuchillón. We have la daga, we have la lengua del gallo, and
Yep.
we have the sacatriz, which is on the lotea.
Absolutely.
That's from Rio Grande area. And a lot of people say knife fighting. A lot of people say knife fighting in Mexico doesn't exist. Wait a minute. Most of the best fighters I've ever seen. Okay?
Yep. You're breaking up.
And I remember one time overhearing Uncle Bill the Torres tell somebody, "You're going to go learn knife fighting where?" They can teach you because the Mexicans are one of the best knife fighters there is.
That's right.
And that is true. The knife fighting culture in Mexico exists very, very much. And now with that coming, did you see stylistic trends in knife fighting in Mexico?
I found, in fact, yes, I did. I found several guys that knew how to work the knife very well. In fact, even here in my own hometown, look, you just said it yourself. It's part of our culture. I had cousins here, and guys that were married to some of my girl cousins that were very good with a knife. Even here in town, they will tell you. You know, they're passed on already, but they showed us how to hold a knife, how to use it for the best cuts, you know, and how to switch it from one hand to another, and all the feints. And I mean, this guy just, you know, even lately, man, my last cousins that passed away, a year ago, they still carried the knife. You know, they prefer the knife over the gun, you know, because you can get with a knife anywhere real quick and keep going, and, you know, you don't cause any commotion. But yeah, we trained in Mexico. Well, by we, I said my brother and I, with a couple of guys that were very good, you know. But I also saw that I could, upon closing the distance, you know, because a lot of the techniques were close in. You could apply the locks and grabs and disarms and throws that I had learned from the other arts. And you sure don't want to leave that out. You know what I mean? You want to make it the best you can. Look, you got to contribute your part. If you don't contribute your part, then you're not doing your job. Because the objective of any art is to keep growing, keep going. We don't want to stale. We don't want to just stay where we are. We want to add our 2 cents. We want to make sure that it gets a little bit better so we can pass it on, you know. And I think that's the route that we took. And that's why to me, knife fighting today. Look, I named the art that I practice Navaja del Tigre. Okay? Navaja del Tigre. Why? A lot of guys have said, "Oh yeah, I heard about that in Mexico. I trained with somebody." No, you didn't. You liar. I coined that term because the best knife fighter in Mexico,
sure,
was Jose Gomez. Jose Gomez had 50 undefeated fights. Jose Gomez retired when the law was passed in 1938, La Ley del Arma Blanca. Anybody got caught in Mexico with a knife was going to jail, and he was a patriot. So he decided no more knife fighting. But at that time, he already had 50 undefeated fights. And journalists would go to Mexico because there were secret knife fights, man. They couldn't get caught anymore. Before it was open, then it was closed. And he asked, you know, who was the best? Oh, Jose Gomez. Why? Why was he the best? He goes, listen, man, he was so fast. You didn't even know what hand he had his knife in. He had in his right hand. All of a sudden, he's cutting you with his left hand. And so maybe he had 2 knives. No, he had 1 knife. He was as fast and as strong as a tiger. Era un tigre con la navaja. He was a tiger with a knife. So, in honor of Jose Gomez, I named it Navaja del Tigre. Well, who's the tigre? Jose Gomez is the tigre. Right. It's his art. I just took it a little bit further by adding what I already knew. And some people say, like when Yaomachita, right, the Aztec martial, wow, that's not Aztec, that's not this. I never said it was. I used the name to honor those great warriors. The rest is all mine, okay? Now, if somebody wants to, train and compare, hey, I'm all for it. And I had all kinds of these talks with one of your best friends that I never got to meet in person, Grandmaster Art Gonzalez. Art was from Mission, which is about an hour from my hometown. And we talked a lot on the phone, almost on a weekly basis.
Another Tejano, dearly.
Yeah, he's from here.
Very dangerous.
Oh, man, Art and I became very close. And he agreed with everything I said. You know, and we talked about knife fighting here in the Valley. Paul, they still use it. I don't go anywhere without my knife and gun, and now without my gun. Well, you know, knowing what's going on. I mean, I've been carrying the gun since the mid-'80s, since I got back from Austin. Because when I got back from Austin, I got a job as a bodyguard for a real rich old private student of mine who had a legal problem. So I started carrying the gun. And we didn't have licenses back then, but I still carried it. You know, like they say, I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. So, but now that we have licenses and you can carry your weapon anywhere and, you know, open carry or whatever, well, that's great. And even now, we have the castle law here in Texas, right? You can have a gun at home, defend your family, your property, and all that stuff. But it also extends to your car. You can take your gun in your car and go anywhere. But the moment you get off the car and you can't take it with you, you better have a CHL, and now you got a problem. Now, if somebody attacks you and you're in your car, well, you can use your gun. It extends, the castle law extends to your feet.
Absolutely.
So anyway, back to the knife fighting. Yeah, I like to say it's pretty complete at this point.
So coming back to your studies, I'm going to ask the following. So going back to your studies in Mexico.
Excuse me?
Which were some of the fighting styles that you saw and you said, you know what, that is very interesting.
Okay, we're cutting off a little bit, but I think you're asking me which styles are the ones that worked. Is that what you said?
Were more martial in aspect, more fighting oriented.
Well, they were all fighting arts. I mean, my God, I mean, this guys didn't play around. You know, I saw very little. Don't think that I went and found it. No, it was very hard to find, man. You know, spent a lot of years, a lot of money, all kinds of problems, you know, but I never gave up, man. It was like 35 years of this stuff. And not just a knife, but anything that I could find, you know, stick fighting or anything. But yeah, some of this knives, these guys were good. These guys were very good. Some had a stiletto. Some just had like a dagger type. Any knife they had in their hand, you know, it's not so much the weapon. It's the guy handling the weapon. Okay? You can have a real beautiful stiletto and a guy comes out with a steak knife, and if you don't know how to use that stiletto and the guy's an expert with a knife, but he's got a little steak knife or whatever, I think you're gonna have a problem because he knows how to use it. But if you combine a best weapon with a good guy that knows how to use it, man, that's double the problem there. Yeah, some of this, look, they didn't have names for it, Paul. Everybody did, and I asked, what is this called? What are you doing? Ah, la navaja. You know, el uso de la navaja, la navaja. It was all la navaja. I didn't want to call the art la navaja. I mean, that's pretty simple. Navaja del Tigre, because I honored Jose Gomez. But back to what you're asking. Most of the techniques were up close. Up close. You know, they do a feint or whatever, and as soon as you go for the feint, they close in, and then the banging of forms, the moving, redirecting your knife out of the way so it can get to your cavity, you know, your chest, your neck, your stomach, your liver. And those were the techniques right there. And I was watching it. And I learned from them because they just do it and didn't want to teach you. But I saw what they were doing. And one of them did help me a little bit. And that was pretty good, you know. And that was in Veracruz, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. Because, you know, I've seen the blade arts that you brought it back, but there were also some photographs and pictures back when they showed me of several in the Jaguar costumes that were wrestling.
Yes.
Right? More grappling arts, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Explain those.
Okay. I met Mil Máscaras, the wrestler, the famous masked wrestler of Mexico. The legendary masked wrestler. He's almost close to 80 years old. I met him when he was in his early 60s. We became friends. And he invited me to go to his house. He has an apartment downtown in Mexico City, one in the outskirts in a gated community. You know, this is a man that lives a very clean life, doesn't smoke, drinks very little. He's always training, always working out, vitamins, jogging. I mean, he's just dedicated to his art. So anyway, he taught me some of his techniques, but not for the ring, for the street. Because he told me that, it's an interview in my course. I think you have a copy there. When he went to train in 1960, when he was the middleweight champion of physioculture in Mexico, he met the Mexican legendary wrestling trainer, El Diablo Velasco, Cuauhtémoc Velasco. He was only 20 years old. He went over there and to be trained by him because he wanted to get into pro wrestling. So Cuauhtémoc asked him, okay, wrestle with some of my boys so I can see, you know, what level you're at, and we'll take it from there. And then in his deep, thick voice, Mil Máscaras tells me, you know, luché con ellos y luego bien rápido, o sea, los vencí. You know, I made them tap out, all 4 or 5 of them, real easy, real quick, man. It taking about 20 seconds. So Cuauhtemoc tells me, pues ya sabes todo. You already know everything, you know. You don't have to teach you anything. But you know what? I can teach you something you don't know. And that intrigued him, man. He goes, oh, yeah? And what is that? And then he went like this with his hand. La pistola, el cohete, o lo que vulgarmente le llamamos el chingadate. So, and I asked Mil Máscaras, chingadate? I mean, that sounds like a vulgar term to me, you know. Like that, chingadate? He goes, yeah. I said, well, what does that mean? He goes, it means que donde me agarres o me toques, te chingas. Because you're already giving me the technique. As soon as you grab me or touch me, I already know what to do. You're giving me half the technique. It's el arte de quebrar y romper sin reglamento. The art of breaking and tearing, breaking bones and tearing muscles without any rules. That intrigued me. Because Kuk Sul has a lot of techniques that are very deadly. They don't teach Kuk Sul today like the way we learned it from the Grandmaster in the early 70s, late 70s and early 80s. That art is gone. Okay, so I learned that from Mil Máscaras. I asked Mil Máscaras, where did this come from? He goes, this is a very old art, Manuel. It comes from the Mexican wrestlers from long, long ago. Okay, this is the art that nobody talks about. In fact, it's a dying art. The only wrestlers that learned this art were the first generation of wrestlers, like El Santo, El Blue Demon, Mil Máscaras, which they were just a little bit older than him. Rey Mendoza, and who knows, so many of them. But it wasn't being taught anymore. Why? Because the sport was more exciting. Nobody cared about the old training. So I got to learn some of those bone-breaking techniques and muscle tearing. Oh my God. And combined with what I knew already and how to put somebody in a position, in a helpless position, it's a lot easier to tear that muscle. To break that, to dislocate that joint or break the joint. There's, you know, I said, man, that just gave me even more information. So if you add all that to stick fighting, to knife fighting, to, you know, whatever you knew already, you're just gonna compound.
Enhance yourself.
So all this contributed to the establishing of the art that I teach now, you know. And I include a lot of those in the knife techniques, because in the knife, and you know this just as good as I do or better, there's no room for mistakes. You make a mistake and that's it, man, it's over. You know, you're gonna cut and get thrusted on, you know. So when you go back to
a lot of people do not understand.
So when you go back to empty hand.
And what I'm going to interject, a lot of people do not understand reality fights and studies reality combatives to what the martial arts now. They're very watered down right now. Well, and people are afraid of those instructors that actually teach the reality than actually want people that look in the mirror and look fancy jumping around. And it's changed the perspective. You know, the old timers dying out, but new guys that are coming up are searching for the old timers to bring back the knowledge. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, a lot of arts within the next years are not going to be more.
No,
and that's
no. A lot of students that join now, I want MMA. I want to go win a trophy. You know, that's been going on for a long time. They don't want to learn all this old knowledge anymore, you know, and they're making a big mistake, because the old knowledge is the real basis of this. You know, the sport is just a branch out of it. You know, I think they should study the old arts, especially the way we teach it now. Those of us like you and I and many, many others, as you well know, have added our 2 cents to it, you know, our knowledge to it, and make it even a little bit more, shall I say, more effective. They should learn that. That's going to get them more out of a problem than learning an art that has just too many rules.
Yeah. You know, people do not understand the street rule, the street violent, and the possibilities of you dying are great.
Oh, God.
Worse off dying is to leave you incapacitated for life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, like this MMA.
So you have to be able to protect yourself and to understand that and stop violence and control. And you know, people say, Paul, you teach us violence. I don't teach you violence. I teach you how to control violence. And you better understand how to walk around violence than to deal with it. Violent. Yeah, I can be violent, but also at the same time, I can laugh and walk around and be very caring. But so I'm not here to teach people to go out and be violent. I'm out here to teach people to control the violence that's out there. And controlling violence also means awareness. You know, you're walking down the street, you see a group of folks out there, you know, it's going to be trouble. You walk by them, cross the street, keep on walking. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going there head first. And try to avoid. I remember my uncle was teaching, you know, you go to a bar, you drink, or a restaurant, you face a door. How many people now do that?
Not very many.
Not very many. You know, so all those things are lost. And you have to know that you live in a town, you live in an area, you beat up somebody 20, 30, 40 years ago. Some of them might still want to beat the crap out of you now. And they might see a weak state, boom, they're going to get you. So you have to be very, very careful.
Well, we have to teach and understand, make them understand that you walking away is not being a coward. It's being a wise man. Look, not too long ago, a month ago.
Absolutely.
My wife and I went to pick up some very delicious certain tacos they make here over there in a certain area of town. So there's no one there. It's quiet. I pick it up in the little stand. We go to the corner. I see no cars coming from, it's in the neighborhood. And I see nobody coming from anywhere. So I make a U-turn. When I make the U-turn, out of nowhere, a little blazer cuts in front of me, and the guy has all his windows down. The tires are squealing. He's yelling at me, shooting a finger at me and telling me to stop and all this stuff. And I'm wondering, looking at him like, man, where did you come from, right? And he cuts me off and gets on the edge, on the shoulder there. And I go around him, and then he comes around and he's yelling at me again and tells me to stop and pull over. And by this time I'm already thinking, man, okay, you know, what's going to happen here? So I go around him again and get to the stoplight, to the stop sign. I turn right on the big boulevard. There's a lot of traffic with 18-wheelers, you know, and I see nobody coming. I turn, and the guy comes, man. And my wife, now she's scared to death. She goes, oh, he's going to shoot and everything. So I get my gun. He ain't shooting anybody. You know what the hell? You know, by then my heart starts pounding. Okay, man, you know, you're elevating this, man. Well, what is it you want? You know, you want an apology? I'll apologize, right? So he comes around, but I get on the inside lane, and he gets on the inside lane. It's a 3 lanes on each side. Little does he know that there's 18-wheelers in front of us, but I can see the lights. And the light to turn left on the inside turning lane, only I can see it because of the 18-wheelers. So I go that way, and the guy gets boxed in by the 18-wheelers, and my wife was all scared that he was gonna, you know, go around. I said, he doesn't have time to go around, just too much traffic. So I'm thinking, okay, what did I just do? Why didn't I get off at the stop sign when he first pulled over? Look, if I would have stopped when he told me to pull over, and I get down with my gun, and he comes at me with a knife or pulls out a gun, and I shoot him and I kill him, I got a problem now, don't I? I have a problem. Because
Number one, it's code rage. So
because now I got off my car with a gun, so I'm part of the problem now. The best thing, like you just said, is to avoid it. And don't feel like you're not a coward, man. You got your wife with you, or your kid, or whoever. You need to protect. You know what I mean? Now, if I would have shot this guy, and killed him, I got to call the cops. Hey, I just killed somebody. That guy came at me. For now, I'm getting arrested, and I got to give a statement. And this guy's got brothers. He's got a father. He's got family, neighbors, and so do I. And we gotta. Now, I don't want to live with the idea that I killed someone because I was part of it. I avoided him. Now, if ever again I run into him again and I'm by myself and he's by myself, well, you know, maybe we'll revisit the situation. But but when you're with family, you avoid it at all costs. And that is a wise thing to do. You know, you don't have to be a tough guy all the time. You know, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. You can go to prison, man. They just might convict and say, no, you're part of the problem. You're going in for 10 years. Oh, man, what did I just do? You understand? But you know what? I'd rather carry the gun with me than be without it.
No, I understand. Maestro, if somebody wishes to train with, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, the best thing would be, I'm on Facebook and I have an email. You know, they can email me at Manuel Lozano at rocketmail.com, or they can call me at 956-293-5857. That's pretty much it. You know, I don't have a school right now because of all this pandemic. You know, I had stopped teaching a year ago, last June. I pretty much had retired from it. Sometimes, Paul, I want to go back and open a school and teach what I know. And sometimes I don't, you know. I don't know. It seems like kids, people nowadays, very few people want to learn the real deal. And everybody else wants sport. You know, I look at Kuksu, the way it is taught. Even if
I don't even know if they want sport. They want something that's like a perfume, perfume for them to smell good for a little bit. No, I don't know. It's crazy how it's turning. You know, we've been here to school, we've been here, and I see people now. They want to learn how to fight, but they don't want to train. They want to learn how to fight, so they'll go to CrossFit, or they'll go to aerobics, or they'll go do an art that the so-and-so police officers teaching it. So they're the ones that more than people that have been around the art forever. It's crazy, you know, when you tell them, do you really want to do the sport? You know, 5,000 excuses come of age. Right now, it's more like cheap perfumes. You know, you smell like this, but it's only $5 instead of paying $50 per bottle or $200 per bottle. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And how long is it going to last? Well, you know, don't breathe hard enough.
But you know, it's always,
that's basically what's going on here.
Well, it's always,
you know,
I
saw a. Yeah, and I saw a young lad. His father was bringing him to us when he was 10 years old. Okay, now he's in his 20s. So, been a while. And his father put him in the chopping block school, you know, corner large school, but that got business, so on and so forth. But I saw him walk into Dad's clinic, and you know, my father's a doctor. He's an American guy. And he had a broken jaw, a broken nose. And I went out, and he goes, "Hey, remember me? I came to your class one time." You know, results. Oh yeah, I'm so-and-so's son. Oh yeah, I'm doing good. Well, my dad took me to so-and-so school. Then they started teaching me this, and what happened to your face? We got in a fight. Really? Where? I went to the island for I think it was one of the weekends that everybody went to the island, like around June. I think it was July, and went to the end. Everybody was drinking. I took the person to the ground. Friends kicked me in the face. That's, you know, they were the cheap shots he gave me. I said, no, that's a fight. That exactly is a fight.
Yeah.
You know, you took the person to the ground. The other guys around you kicked you in the face. Now you have surgery to your jaw and to your nose. And he goes, oh, maybe after this is done, maybe I can come back and prove it. Ain't gonna happen. But what happens is start learning correctly. Those people that are listening out there, if you have a son or daughter and you're worrying about bullying, take to the place, talk to the people. Don't take them to the large schools, right? Being McDonald's has a lot of mirrors. Talk to the old timers in the area. They know who is who and who teaches people how to fight. They still do. It's still around in the street. The name's Recipe. And if you're gonna take because so-and-so soccer mom is seeing little Johnny down to the HEB, don't do that. Take him over. First, teach how to box, how to use his hands, how to use his feet, how to correct. Everything else comes to that. Teach him. And you want somebody that's gonna come out of respect. Because you know very well, a lot of guys will come in here just to be tough guys and be leaders of gangs. That's not what we're here for. There's plenty of martial schools that do that.
Yes, sir.
And they can do that. I'm not. I'm not for that. You know, I'm against that. But unfortunately, you have to teach reality. Let's see when we get together. We have to get together. It's been a while,
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen you.
and let's put that together.
Right now, when I said that's been the problem all along, well, what I meant was, even when I had my schools back in the early days, you know, everybody faces this. Okay, if I teach as strong and rough and disciplined as I learned, I'm gonna have very few students. I won't be able to pay the rent, much less make money to live off of. So what do? So you gotta soften up your training, this and that. So your soul is at stake. I said, what do, man? Sell my soul? And a lot of guys have sold their soul. You know, you walk in and they're babysitting. They're not really training. You know, and I see it in my own art that I used to train in Kuksul. I love the art, man. I still do, but it's not being taught the way I learned it. It was so hard. Guys quit. Guys, another guy that went with me from my own town, and you know who I'm talking about, to the first seminar, I couldn't take it, quit. He quit. He went back to Taekwondo. He goes, no, man, this is crazy, man. This is too violent. This is too. I said, well, then what are you martial arts for? You know, I got to learn this. And right now, when you talked about that gentleman that went to the island and went down, you know, with jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, and then the other guys kick him when he's down. Well, that's the reason I wanted to learn more. That's just one style. That's just one.
That's exactly right.
That's just one part of the whole. You know, you need to learn several arts. You know, you just don't want to be real good in one. You want to be real good in others. Look, Master Kim, my Hapkido teacher from the beginning, he said that you should major in one art and minor in two. Well, I went further than that. Majored in 3 and minored in 5. You know, and it's good. You don't have to learn an art 20 years to be good at it. You can be good at it in 6 months or a year or less. It depends on you. You know, how talented are you? How much you're willing to train, to dedicate time to it. You know what I'm talking about. It's up to you. A lot of guys say, well, I've been in the martial arts 40 years. Yeah, no. You've known about martial arts for 40 years. How many hours on the mat out of those 40 years do you have actual on the mat training real good? Base your experience on that.
No, absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. That's why they make classes the way they are, because people have a schedule, and that they could try to fit into their schedule, and it's kind of training them to have discipline. But the true fighters are going to be training day. They're going to train time. They'll stop lunch and they'll go work out. They'll do this. They'll continue.
Paul, when I was
few in between.
When I was in Austin, that Wally J, I invited Wally J to come teach a seminar, and I invited all the guys in Austin, different schools. I asked him, sir, he goes, call me Wally. I said, Wally, is there any secrets in the martial arts? He goes, yes. He goes, you want to know the secret? I said, yes, I do. He goes, come here, get real close. I need to whisper it in your ear. You know, and I was still learning, even though I was in my late 20s, you know, I was hungry, man. I was training with everybody that I could, and I get real close to him. And he whispers in my ear, daily training, my friend, daily training. Not too many people can keep that secret. And he starts laughing. I said, man, you know what? I just got taken. I said, you know what? You're right. If you train every day, you're going to get good. But you got to train right. You got to train the right way, man. Train smart. You know, a lot of people won't train for 2 years and say, oh, 10 years or 5. Oh, man, I've been in the martial arts 25 years. Shut up. I don't want to hear that. You know, let's start training, and right away we'll know. It's like you want to know somebody's rank. Okay, let me see you do something, man. You know, let's do something. And you can throw right away that guy's rank just by the way he moves. You know, by the way he applies the techniques that he has learned. Oh, man, this guy's, black belt guy's a master, man. This guy knows what he's doing, you know. You see somebody moving, oh, man, you need to go back and practice the guy. So there's a lot of that. And since there's no governing agency, Paul, in Texas or anywhere, anybody can open a school. Anybody can open a school and say whatever they want to say, and they're not going to get vetted by anybody. And I think that's wrong, because you just may be training someone to get killed, to get hurt by teaching them false information, you know. But hey, it's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
All this happened. All this
we'll
goes.
Do this one at a time. Yeah. let's do this, Maestro. We're running time.
Okay.
And you're well done. I hope people can flock to that, and I hope the art of the Mexican martial arts continues slow, and people to understand that they exist, and move over with that.
You know, it's good to see a bunch of guys in Mexico want to do all this stuff, you know, and now they're coming out with it. Man, I started this, what? I don't know, a long time ago, 40 years ago. But
I'm proud.
You know, we'll see.
Until next time. Peace, my brother.
Have a good day. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
For 30 years, Buitron Academy has produced great fighters, peace officers, firemen, and many great citizens of Laredo. We teach various martial arts, savate, kempo, capoeira, each in their own traditions, trajectory, history, and pedagogy. Buitron Academy is the first school of savate in the United States, the first capoeira movement in Texas, the first kempo school in Laredo. What will one expect to see at Buitron Academy? Respect, fellowship, coordination, skill, and self-defense. Buitron Academy is located at 220 West Hillside Road.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Hello, how are you? My name is Celestino Marina. I'm running for City Council, District 5, and I would like your support. Together, we will win. Thank you.
Laredo College needs a leader, an educator with a vision to move forward for a positive change. This is why, as your candidate, I want accessible education, and most importantly, I want to listen to your concerns as a stakeholder, students, faculty, staff, and taxpayers. It's time for education over politics.
Vote Justin Huntsnusher Casiano for Laredo College Board, place 7.
Hi Laredo, this is Carlos Perez. I'm running for Laredo College Board of Trustees Place 8. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CG Perez RLC. I look forward to gaining your support this campaign season, and earning your vote November 3rd. Thank you.